so you can no longer use it. That's a little scary, wouldn't it be? Imagine me not being able to use Kenner French, the famous Kenner French, ever again. Well, this lady who we're going to have on our podcast, on our show today, our Vastcast today, she's going to help us to retain our name and actually, who knows, maybe make some money as a result. Angela, dude, so glad you're here. This is a big deal.
Thank you, Kenner. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's just, obviously we've already talked about the fact that we have a ton of real estate agents, of entrepreneurs, sometimes solopreneurs who really need to, obviously put their business together so it's really on track. And intellectual property is a huge deal. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a huge deal. But why don't you first tell us who you are? Because you are the trademark doctor, right? And then we can go into kind of some specifics so our clients don't lose such a valuable asset as their name or maybe even a trade secret, et cetera. Go for it.
Well, I'm Angela Langlotz. I'm a trademark and copyright attorney. So I help people worldwide who want to acquire trademark and copyright rights here in the United States. Many of my clients sell things online. In fact, most of my clients do. And my clients include people like real estate agents who have an interesting tagline that they want to protect. Maybe they're real estate coaches who have names for their courses and programs that they want to protect. I basically help all of those people retain their rights, their exclusive rights to use their name or their tagline in conjunction with their goods and services, whatever those are. Mm-hmm. And I can also help them protect the courses and other materials that they've produced via copyright registration with the United States Copyright Office.
Look at you. And why you? Obviously, you're well known. I know a number of people who use you, but why you? Why are you the expert at this? What makes you such a great trademark doctor?
Well, I am an expert at it. When I think about how long I've been practicing law, 25 years.
You don't look like that. You look much younger than that.
I know. Everybody says that. When I take my makeup off, I look like I'm about 12, right? But I've been doing this a really long time. And because I'm very familiar with the online marketing space, I understand my clients' businesses in a way that other attorneys who don't market online don't, right? So I understand my clients' businesses. I understand the tools that they use. And most importantly, I understand the type of infringement that they're likely to experience. And so I can proactively plan against that, plan to avoid that. And so my clients get much broader and much more effective trademark and copyright protection because I'm already thinking in advance about what kinds of infringements they're likely to experience and sort of heading those off proactively, which I don't think very many attorneys are thinking about.
Yeah, I would say there's very few attorneys who are, well, one, practicing nationwide, even as a solo practitioner or what have you, and then also really working with solopreneurs, which it sounds like you do, and I think that's, and real estate as a specialty. I think that's a huge thing you do, and your market is our market. So the people out there who are watching and listening to this, both webinar and podcast, are going to be really benefiting a lot of the things we'll be talking about here. So, I'm going to give you a little case example. So I'm a big Dave Matthews Band follower, right? I don't know if you see this.
Yeah, I love them.
Good times. And, right when, we've been doing a lot of, Web 3.0, blockchain, et cetera. And right when I'm kind of in with a couple of people who know a couple of guys in the band, and I said, hey, to this guy and actually this girl, hey, you got to make sure that this Web 3.0 blockchain is going to be big. You got to make sure that the names are taken when it relates to the blockchain, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't listen to me. They thought, whatever, that's hokey. This is years ago because we started back in 2010. So we made NFTs specifically of many of the guys in the band, everyone but Dave Matthews and the Dave Matthews Band name. I have pretty much all the other assets. And the only reason I did that, not to steal it from the guys, right? But also just specifically to reserve it for them when it became big, and it's starting to get big now. Yeah. Hey, I have it and they can have it, but I wanted to reserve it because I knew that that was a possibility that someone would come and do something bad by reserving those names of, as an example, Carter Beauford, who's the drummer of the band. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is intellectual property is huge because now I have that asset. If someone wanted to do bad to them and charge them mass money, it's a possibility. I don't want to do that. I'm going to give it to them, right? But at the same time, I guess what I'm saying is that shows, in my opinion, the importance of intellectual property, having a name, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. And I think a lot of people don't register because they figure, who's going to register X, right? Well, you would be completely surprised at how many people come to me to register a trademark for whatever, a course, an online platform, what have you. And actually, I do have a lot of clients who are in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space, and I've registered trademarks for them as well. There are a lot of people who think that their name will be available whenever they want it, and that's not true. The reason is because even if their exact name isn't registered, sometimes other people register other things, not because they're being nefarious, but just because that's what they're doing, because they have a similar trademark. And it makes it impossible for my client to now register their name as a trademark because somebody else has something that we call it in trademark land confusingly similar, right? So people have to be very proactive about going after the trademarks that they desire, because if they don't, they may find that when they get around to applying to register their trademark, or they're thinking about registering their trademark, when I do the search, frequently what I find is it's just not available. And they're like, well, what if we put an S on the end? What if we spell it with a K? I'm like, no. One of my favorite sayings for my clients is crazy with a K is still crazy, right? Like we can't get too close. There are lots of rules about how close we can get to other people's trademarks. But the bottom line is, if you would like to protect your name or tagline or course name with a trademark, get in there and get it registered.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. I was, this is weird for me to even mention, but I was on the ferry. I was talking to a very famous in Washington State, or relatively famous, intellectual property attorney. I said, why do intellectual property attorneys, trademark attorneys get paid so much? He's like, well, think about it. The biggest asset you have as a company is your brand name. So on the flip side, the biggest asset a business owner will have is their name, right?
Right.
So what are some examples where you've completely helped out a client? I mean, gone way above and beyond helping a client with a trademark that you can think of.
So sometimes someone will try to register something and there's already something that's confusingly similar in the record. But then when we start digging around, we notice that the registrant has completely abandoned the use. So, but it's blocking my client's trademark. So one of the things that we can do, if the registrant is no longer using the trademark and we can prove that, we can actually apply to cancel their trademark in certain circumstances. So I've done that. We can also, so if my client comes in and they've been using a trademark for a long time, but they haven't registered, and somebody else has already applied for a similar trademark that's not the first user, we can go in and oppose their trademark application. Again, if we catch it in time. So there's lots of ways that we can acquire trademark rights, even if my client doesn't file timely, but it makes it a lot more difficult and it makes it a lot more expensive. Like anytime your attorney says, yes, we can do it, but it will be more difficult, start, adding up the dollar signs in your head. It will be more expensive. That's why I'm encouraging everybody, if you have a brand that you want to protect, you want to have the exclusive right to use that with your goods and services, get in there and register the trademark for it. Because if you don't, it may be more difficult to try to get that trademark later.
Look at you, trademark doctor. Speaking of which, how does someone get a hold of you if they're interested in using your services?
Well, they can find me online at trademarkdoctor.net, and they can also watch my over 500 YouTube videos. I have a YouTube channel of the same name. If you go to YouTube and you search Trademark Doctor, you will find me and my videos there. I answer a lot of trademark and copyright law questions there. But yeah, the best way to reach me is to go to my website at trademarkdoctor.net.
I got you. Just in case, how does someone spell Trademark Doctor? In case someone forgets how to spell it.
It's basically trademark, TRADEMARK, no space, DOCTOR.net.
Awesome. All right, I got a couple other questions. This is helpful, at least to me. You cut out. I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I'm still here.
I have
Can you
a
hear
couple
me?
questions. kind of biting questions, real questions. So I asked a question in a seminar you were doing, and I got a funny response. But I thought back in the olden days, you could, as an example, write whatever. Let's say I wanted to trademark my name in pretend world. Sure. Kenner French, then put a little TM, send a piece of mail really to myself, get it back, and in it it shows that I used that trademark, Kenner French with a small TM, which means trademark. Everyone laughed at me. I thought back in the old days that was a legal way of getting a trademark. Obviously, everyone laughed at me, so it must not have ever been a thing back in the olden days. Is that true or false? It sounds like it's false.
Well, I haven't been practicing back in the olden days, but currently the only way to obtain trademark rights through the entire U.S. states and territories is to register your trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. You can still obtain some trademark rights just by using the trademark. The problem, those are called common law rights. The problem with depending on those common law rights, however, is that you're not in the trademark database for the trademark examiners to find. And if they can't find you in the trademark database, they will issue a trademark registration to anyone who applies for your name or for something confusingly similar to your name. They don't go out into the rest of the world and say, gee, I wonder who might be using this trademark. No, they look in the trademark database. If you're not there, they go, okay, I guess nobody else is using this trademark and we can issue it to, Jane over here. And they issue it to Jane, and now Jane can use that trademark registration to wreak havoc on your business. She is presumed to be the true owner of that trademark because she's got a registration certificate with her name on it. So she can go to Facebook and have your account shut down because she has this certificate that proves she's the recognized legal owner. She can go to Instagram and have your account taken down. She can go to your web host and say, these people are infringing my trademark. Please remove the website. And that has happened to people. Okay, so this is a matter, paying attention to these things is a matter of business survival. It's not really optional. So, I don't think people realize that people can do that. But if you want to wrest your trademark rights away from Jane, you're going to have to go into federal court, sue Jane for trademark infringement, and then come up with a bunch of proof to prove that you were using it before Jane was, and pay extra to get her trademark registration canceled as well. I don't recommend that whole process. It's going to take tens of thousands of dollars and probably a couple of years. Meanwhile, all of your business properties have been taken down. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's scary. If you lose all your business property, your intellectual property is key, man. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. So, wow, it's been illuminating to me. So then let's say, so I understand you're a federal trademark attorney. So what does that mean when, let's say someone I'm in Washington State, and sure. I think there's a trademark. I should know this. There's a trademark. I think they call it a trade name. They do call it a trade name in Washington. So that's state. So let's say I have a trade, a trade name / trademark in Washington State. And then someone comes in and tries to do something federally. What supersedes what? I assume federal supersedes state. And this is a just generic question.
Yeah. So federal trademark rights will always trump state trademark rights. So if you have a trademark in Washington, remember, you're not in the trademark database at the federal level. The Federal Trademark Office doesn't know you exist. So they will issue whatever federal trademark that anybody applies for if you're not in the database for them to find. Now, you still have common law rights wherever you were using it. But again, we just talked about a scenario where somebody could go in using their federal rights and say, these people are infringing my trademark, and have all of your stuff taken down. Okay. So it's really best if you're using it in interstate commerce, which means you're using it in more than one state, or you're advertising online or doing something online. It's best if you go in and register with the Federal Trademark Office.
Totally makes sense. So as an example then, in my opinion, a lot more people and a lot more companies should be trying to transact business in other states.
Sure.
Instead of their home state. Because with virtual, with computers, et cetera, it's so much easier to do that. So what you're saying is someone should really register federally their trademark, et cetera, and then it makes it easier going forward, et cetera, et cetera. That's bottom line what you're saying there.
Yeah. So if let's say that you're a real estate agent and you're selling homes in Washington. Well, there are a lot of people that are moving from California to Washington. So of course you would be perhaps advertising and dealing with clients in California. You would want to have federal trademark rights because people don't just, move to Seattle from other places in Washington. They move to Seattle from all kinds of places, or Vancouver, or wherever you're looking at. But yes, so people who sell real estate are doing business in interstate commerce because they're offering their real estate agency services to other people who are outside the state. That's very common. People change states all the time.
So then, this is coming to mind. Have you ever heard of Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach, by chance?
The name sounds familiar. Yes.
He's a big kind of real estate, or he's kind of a guru, and he works with a lot of real estate agents, a lot of a business coach for a lot of entrepreneurs. And one of the big things he says is, hey, you really got to have a trademark almost all your services because it kind of creates a moat around your business.
Exactly.
And I think you'd be a great strategic alliance for him because a lot of people should be putting out whatever they're like. We have a thing called the wealth check, or wealth check system, I should say, and it kind of sounds cool. It's basically a financial plan on steroids, kind of a process, and we put a TM, we trademarked it, and it again puts a moat around our business so another person can't come in and use that name. And I think a lot of people should be trademarking a lot more of their services, again, creating a moat around their business because who knows, for one, you sound unique in the marketplace. Plus, number two, you don't want someone to come in and take that name. And so there's a huge value to your business. So, to what you do. So what's it like? What's a typical engagement for working with you for an entrepreneur, let's say a real estate agent?
Well, typically I will have a phone conference or a video conference with them. And I love video conferencing because I love seeing my clients and I want them to see me and know I'm a real person and all of that. So typically I will have a short initial consultation with them. I'll go in and do an initial search on their name just to see what else is in the database. If there's a problem or a red flag, I'll let them know what that is and they can come back to me perhaps with a different name, or we can strategize other ways to get their trademark registered. And then if they want to move forward, I'll send them an invoice and a legal services agreement that they can sign online, they can pay online. I make all of that super easy. And then I start the trademark process. So I will go in, I will do a full search. I will send them, once I've cleared the mark, I will send them a list of goods and services for their approval. And then when I get that back from them, I will file the trademark application. And then we wait. Typically, we wait 9 to 10 months to hear back from the trademark office. And that's so it takes a long time to hear back from them. And that's one of the reasons why I want to be really careful about what I file. I don't want to file something that isn't registerable and then hear back and get a denial 9 or 10 months later from the trademark examiners. I want my client's trademark application to move very smoothly through the trademark process. So I may get an initial rejection from the trademark examiner. Usually I know why, right? So I've usually identified things that the trademark office will latch on to that I have to overcome, but I've already warned the client about that, right? So my clients are expecting that. There are very few circumstances under which I get a rejection that I'm not expecting. But we can overcome that rejection by making arguments about why the mark that the examiner has found isn't a problem, right? Rejections are pretty common.
They are?
Yeah, they're pretty common. So the examiners will sort of latch on to any reason. Some of the reasons are just absolutely crazy, right? But we have to deal with them. We have to deal with the rejections. So I file what's called a response to office action. My air conditioner is turning on. I don't know why. And then deal with the rejection. So, but like I said, I've already flagged that issue for my client, okay? Because I'm very familiar with the kinds of things that they argue. And so I've already told the client, hey, we may get a rejection for this trademark or that trademark. Here's how I'm going to overcome it. Just know that I'm expecting that. Sometimes I'm not expecting it. And I tell my client, I don't see any reason why they would reject it, and it just sails on through. Usually we get a registration in about 12 to 14 months. But keep in mind that because we have the application on file, my client's feet are in line for that trademark, and nobody else can jump in front of them. So as soon as the trademark application is filed, we get something called a priority date. And that priority date, like I said, is my client's feet in line for that trademark. So the important thing is to file the trademark application as soon as we can, because that helps protect my client's rights.
Yeah, it starts clock rolling. Wow, I didn't realize it. But I thought if there's a way to make it hurry a little bit quicker than average. Isn't that the case? I think if you pay more to the feds, you kind of get put in line a little earlier. Isn't that the case still, or no?
There are ways to do that, but the circumstances usually require that there's trademark litigation pending. So unless we have pending trademark litigation, and it does cost a lot extra, unless we have pending trademark litigation, it's really hard to speed up that process. So unless you filed suit against somebody, like in federal court, it's hard to speed up that process.
I understand. Speaking of cost, how much does it cost typically with you or with any trademark attorney to get a trademark getting into play?
Yeah, I can't speak to what other people are charging. If you want LegalZoom to mess up your trademark application, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I fix a lot of things.
No, hold on. Back up. Let's talk about that. I know a couple of people who have, and I'm not pushing you in any way, et cetera.
Right.
I know some people, 2 different instances where they used real estate agents use LegalZoom and completely mess up their application. And in one case, someone else came in behind them and took their name or their whatever they were trying to apply for, by the way. So you can pick on them.
Well, I don't want to pick on them too much. Let's just call them cheap trademark filing services. Okay, we won't pick on them because there's lots of them out there. So what they do is they don't do a proper search. There are lots of ways that your trademark can infringe something else that's already in the trademark database. But what these filing services do typically is they'll do what's called an exact match search. So if they don't find your exact trademark in the trademark database, they'll say, sure, we'll just file it. So they file it. And then, 9 or 10 months later, they get a rejection. They'll come to me to fix it. And I'll say, look, this should have never been filed, right? Like this trademark was destined to fail because of all these things in the trademark database. So, but the problem is that the consumer doesn't know all of this. So they're going in without a proper understanding of all of the pitfalls. So they go, why should I pay an attorney when I can just file it myself or have a legal whatever file it for me? Well, the problem is they don't do a good search. So it's very likely that in 10 months, you're going to get a rejection from the trademark office and you're going to have to start over from square one. So it can be really disheartening for them to get these rejections, but that's always going to happen. It's always going to happen if you don't do a good search. So, you can quote unquote save money if you want to, but you're not likely to get the registration that you're seeking, and that's the problem.
You basically get what you pay for is what you're saying, really. Yeah, if you want nothing, you pay nothing. If you want a lot, you pay a lot. It's up to you as a business owner. And again, going back to the point, your name's worth a lot. It's a very, very big asset. And if you want to take care of your biggest asset, you might as well spend some dough on it.
Yeah, and as far as my fees, those are dependent upon the breadth of the trademark application because we pay a fee per class when we file the trademark application, and I have to do a search in every class. Generally speaking, a trademark registration with my office, it generally is less than $5,000.
That's what I need. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what are some things typically, again, a very generic question, what are some things that you think would be wise to trademark? And again, that's an open-ended question, but let's say for like our average, I would say, I'm picking on real estate agents. Our average real estate agent probably makes somewhere around $500,000 gross. So what do you think would be wise for them to trademark?
Well, a lot of, a lot of real estate agents are using things, like taglines. I just got a registered trademark for a woman who calls herself the short sale queen. All right. So she has a tagline that she likes to use. She's the short sale queen. I've helped other people get trademark registrations for their business. One of my clients' businesses is named Myers the Home Buyers. I helped him get a trademark registration. So if you have a distinctive business name or a distinctive tagline, maybe you're a coach that teaches other people about real estate investing and you have a name for your coaching business, we can register a trademark for that. Perhaps you have a proprietary name for a certain course that you're selling. We can register a trademark for that. Perhaps you've got a podcast. We can register trademarks for podcasts.
I never thought about registering our...
Yeah. Do you have a trademark registration for your podcast name, Kenner?
No, dude. No. Actually, and today, literally, we're going, kind of nationwide or worldwide with our podcast. I never even thought of that, actually. That's something I probably should use it. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super important because there are tons of podcasts out there. I've also helped people who are building real estate applications that they want to put into the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. They maybe have a logo that they want to identify their app with in the App Store. We can register a trademark for that too, so that people can immediately recognize their app.
Yeah, I never thought about it. So then, speaking of podcasts, because pretty much all our people have podcasts, I would say.
Yeah.
As a guest, should they? What about URLs? Should they trademark their URL that they use for their podcast?
It depends. And I know people hate those "it depends" answers. I typically don't recommend registering a trademark for the URL if we can get the name. If we can't get the name, sometimes we do register the URL. The answer to this is kind of technical and probably not within the scope of our discussion here. But in general, I prefer to register the name instead of the URL. If the name of the podcast is very descriptive of the subject matter of the podcast, then we would register the URL, because anything descriptive is really hard to register. But don't assume that your trademark isn't registerable. Come ask me. I may be able to figure out how to register it for you.
Wow, thanks. Is that kind of quick consultation usually pro bono? Is that how you work in that regard?
No, I don't do free consultations. A 15-minute consultation with me is $25, and I found that
That's it? Wait, back up. Wait a minute. So if I call you for 15 minutes, you're saying it's only $25? That's dirt cheap.
It's dirt cheap, and I've had people, push back on that, but my attitude is, listen, if you don't think my advice is worth anything, then don't pay the $25. It's real simple. But I think that's a bargain. as a friend of mine calls a screaming deal. And then we can look at what you've got and see. But when I found that when I charge $25, people actually show up, and it tends to weed out the people who aren't really serious. So
wait a minute, hold on. So that doesn't make sense to me. That's illogical. Although I like that. If I hire you for an hour, are you telling me it's $100, or are you just telling me that? Yeah, I got you. Okay. All right.
The initial short consultation is $25 for 15 minutes. If you want real legal advice and you want to talk to me for an hour, then, you pay my hourly rate. But, if you want to find out whether or not X is registrable at all, we can get on the phone and I can see what you're doing and do a quick search. I call it the quick and dirty search. It's not going to be a full trademark search, but at least it gives us an idea of what's in the database and what things we have to avoid, right?
I understand. All right, so let me pick on you then, because you're a pickable person. This, as a reminder, this is going to all our clients. It's going to be in a webinar that we call Vastcast. It's going to be on our podcast. So, and if you feel funny telling us, I totally get it. What trademarks do you have for your business? And people can use that as an example for their circumstance, maybe.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable talking about that?
I have trademarks registered for my coaching and training businesses for attorneys. And I have trademark applications. There was some complications with the trademark doctor registration that I had to work out first. It was one of those situations where somebody else had the trademark but wasn't using it. So when I started my business, it was a little bit complicated. But yes, that will issue later this year. But I do have trademark registrations for my business coaching. So I teach video marketing to attorneys, and I do have trademark registrations for those.
Wow, that shows how studly you are. If you're coaching other attorneys, trademark stuff, I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. So obviously you're well known in the industry. I know you're well known. So tell me a little bit about coaching for attorneys. We do have some attorneys who are going to be listening to this too. So give a little bit of a kind of a brief outline as to what you do there.
Yeah. So I coach other attorneys on how to use video to market their legal business, right? So I built my business by doing a ton of videos about trademark and copyright law. And I think it's a great way to connect with your prospective clients because they get to see you and they get to see, how are you? Do I like you? Because you don't want people to hire you if they don't like you. That just makes a mess of everything. So I built my legal business using video. I have a YouTube channel with over 500 videos on it about trademark and copyright law. And so I'm encouraging other attorneys, to just use video as a tool to connect with their prospective clients and talk about their practice and how they can help their clients.
Interesting. So, wow, nice work. So we have 500 videos, a lot. Obviously, you're dedicated to trademark. Either you're crazy or you're dedicated, one of the two, Angela.
Exactly.
So we have, and I didn't even mention this earlier, so we have 10,000 kind of tax professionals, usually tax professionals in our teaching group. What's funny, I forgot about them. So let's say for tax professionals, what are some of the things that you would generally say might be something they should consider trademarking?
Well, like I said, if they have a podcast, they can consider registering a trademark for their podcast. If they have a tagline that they use, they can register that. If they have a proprietary business name that they want to protect, they can register a trademark for that. But again, it is contingent upon nobody else already having a trademark for a confusingly similar trademark for similar goods and services. So we need to really make sure that we do a good search before we apply to register for the reasons I've already mentioned.
Yep, I get it. So we're getting kind of close to the end. This has been hugely helpful to me. I'm sure it's been helpful for our business people too out there. So what's one thing we haven't talked about that you think can add some value to a solopreneur, entrepreneur, tax professional, real estate agent, or a real estate investor that might be wise for them that we haven't already gone over?
I think we skimmed over just about everything. And the bottom line is that if you want to protect your exclusive right to use whatever tagline, logo, business name that you're using, you really do need to protect that with a trademark. It's the only way that you can preserve those trademark rights nationwide.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Did you cut out? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think you froze or something, Kenner. I'm sorry.
Sorry you cut out. So hopefully, are you done with that last comment? We can edit that out. This is live, ladies and gentlemen, basically.
Let me do it again, and then you can edit.
Thank you very much.
So I think, Kenner, the bottom line is that we covered just about everything sort of on a surface level, but the bottom line is that if you want to protect your exclusive right to use your tagline or business name or any other distinctive logos or things like that with your goods and services nationwide, you need to register a trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
And it sounds like the best way of doing that is going to www.trademark.net and get a hold of Angela, because I think she can add value to you guys. And Angela, I totally appreciate you being here. This has been awesome. It's going to be great for our Vastcast, our webinar, our podcast, and people who see this video. I think it's going to be awesome. I really do appreciate you taking the time. You're a busy lady, and it's been awesome.
Well, thank you for having me, Kenner. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody. And if I can be of service, you can find me online at trademarkdoctor.net.
Sweetness. All right, guys, this is Kenner French once again signing off for the Vast Voice, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. If you need anything from us, obviously you know how to get a hold of us. If not, vastsolutionsgroup.com. Again, vastsolutionsgroup.com. Everyone, it's been a pleasure.